FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It is October 3rd, 2019. Well, trade war, heating up, cooling off, heating up again. Is Trump winning, losing? What about the country? Where are we going from here? Hey, what's your opinion about the trade war? We'd love to hear from you. Your opinion, your voice. The email address is kl@kerrylutz.com. Well, we've got T.G. Watkins here, a new guest, and simplertrading.com is where you find him. TG, welcome to the show. So what do you make of Trump's latest so-called trade war machinations?
Well, the latest one that we've heard about as far as maybe Apple and China is that they're going to be having their Mac Pro manufactured in Austin. So that's actually where I live. That's where Simpler Trading is. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of nice having something like that in our backyard. They're up a little bit northern Austin, but having them come back there and manufacture stuff in the U.S. has been a really nice, and we really want to keep seeing more like that. We've been seeing a lot of influx of some tech companies and other manufacturing companies coming back, and particularly in Texas. I think Texas has a pretty good open door policy and friendly to business, and that's why we keep catching a lot of them coming into here.
Yeah, well, Texas has no state income tax, right to work state, no unions, all these good things. So what do you think it means for the country, though? Because Apple said they said they were going to assemble one computer that they're right now they're doing in the U.S. in China, but now they've kind of walked back and say they're going to do its new Mac Pro desktop in Austin. We're kind of getting mixed signals here, aren't we?
We are. I think that's been the name of the game actually for the last few years about a lot of the politics and a lot of the trade war situation. I mean, if you look at the stock market, it's been driven so much by news. I mean, one day, okay, the China trade talks are back on. Another day, well, the Chinese don't want to talk about it. Another day, okay, we're going to ramp up tariffs. I mean, it has been all over the place, and so is the market. And that's what we're trying to figure out is where are we going with this? Yeah. Now, I'm sure you kind of figured out yesterday the ISM manufacturing index came out, and it wasn't so good. It came out at 47.8%, which was under 50%. So if it's under 50%, that's a decline. If it's a contraction, if it's over 50%, then it's fine and things are growing and doing all right. And the market is not liking that. Yesterday it went down all day, and today it opened with a gap down and continued driving down. So if we look at metrics like this, it's kind of not looking so good. And we need to figure out what that's going to mean for the rest of the country, despite what we're seeing as these companies coming back to America and supposedly starting manufacturing here.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. Hey, one thing I wanted to raise as far as trade, China was holding off of agricultural imports from the U.S. And last week they finally broke down because obviously they had no other alternatives. And they bought I was going to say a boatload, but that's grossly underestimating it. Many boatloads of soybeans because in order for their hogs to be fed, and that China is the largest consumer of hogs, pigs in the world. That is their favorite food. And the only way that they have of feeding them is with soybeans. And the only country that had a surplus, an agricultural surplus, is the good old USA. So this was like really a loss of face to the Chinese having to come back to the Satan America and buy these things, wasn't it?
Yeah, right. Well, it's unfortunate that we have to do all this posturing, and as you said, save face or loss of face. But can't we just kind of work out some business and maybe not have to keep all this bravado up? And we took a hit. How about we just kind of rework some stuff and we try and make sure we get some balanced trade going on through here. Mm-hmm. And as far as my understanding, my opinion with Trump and his tariffs, yeah, it might be not the smoothest thing going on, but I think what he's trying to do is use that as a lever to get the Chinese to kind of come back to the table and say, okay, let's renegotiate a lot of different things. And once we have a more level playing field, I'll take off those tariffs. We'll get back to, free and open trade. But he's trying to use that to kind of poke and prod them in the first place to get them to come to the table and do things like this, just like that soybean stuff you're talking about.
They're really living in the in the 19th century, the Chinese, the mercantilistic times, where trade was basically a win-lose situation. We get more of it, you lose. We win, you lose.
Right.
Now we've supposedly elevated it in our enlightened latter 20th century, early 21st century into a win-win proposition. But the U.S., it's only a win-win because the U.S. is content losing. I remember the late, great Harry Browne, economist, libertarian, Austrian economist, used to say that none of these markets could exist without the accommodating loser of government. That means when they go in and they try to stop a falling dollar or stop a falling euro and they buy the currency and sell the other currency, the government's losing money. The government's purpose in the markets today to keep them stable is to be the accommodating loser. And I guess Trump is the one saying, hey, we're all losers. When the government's a loser, that means everyone's a loser. I don't want to use his term of start winning, but let's just, maybe a win is just to not lose anymore. Maybe that's a win in itself.
I would certainly agree with that. I mean, I'm kind of a fan of smaller governments in general and allowing markets to do their thing, letting individuals and individual companies kind of do their thing. They're the ones that are going to know the most information because they're the ones that it's the most pertinent to. I mean, who's going to know things better than the company that has to keep their profits, their margins, and everything in line, working well, and showing that they're shareholders and keeping their employees happy? They're the ones that are going to make all the best decisions in their best interest. And I think ultimately you put that together and all of these companies, as a group, will help America and help the rest of the world do better. And I think that's what we need to look at and stop getting a lot of this government intervention. I think we've kind of seen time and time again that a lot of times when government sticks their nose in places, it doesn't always work out very well, or at least it makes things very convoluted.
Yep. And I think you're talking like a Jeffersonian, Jacksonian Austrian, really, because...
Yeah, a little bit.
Hey, well, look, you're in the markets. What's the best indicator of any market? The price that something's going for. But when the government's got its thumb on the scale and is picking out the winners and the losers, how do you tell what the real price is? Like, for instance, when you look at the Federal Reserve, how do you know what the real rate of interest is when they're always mucking around with interest rates? You don't know. And then when you're...
Absolutely agree.
Then that creates all sorts of mischief.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree with that. And we see a lot of that actually in our own lives with the cost of education. And because now we have federal subsidies, not to get all the murkiness of the healthcare, but I think we see a lot of problems with the healthcare situation because the government has put in there and, stuck its finger on the scales in that direction too. So it is tough. We don't necessarily know what the real number of a lot of things are because it's being highly manipulated by the government, perhaps with the best intentions, but as I say, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so we're going to have to just keep seeing where this road takes us.
Yeah, well, you see, that's where I disagree. I don't think the intentions of the collectivists are pure and good at all. I think that their ultimate aim is, destruction of capitalism and totally casting aside of free markets. There's nothing good about that. That's not a good intention.
Well, were you talking more about like the globalists and everything else like that with the UN and all of them that want to make this a global trade and kind of step on America?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Hey, it's really, it's just not the globalist. I mean, I don't really classify them in terms of globalist or non-globalist. I just view them as collectivists because they want to use the heavy fist of government to achieve their end in the markets and in all aspects of society. So it doesn't matter whether they want to just do it in the state of Rhode Island or they want to do it in the whole world. They're still collectivists.
Fair. I see what you're saying now.
Yeah. So, but the question is, where are we going to go from here? Now, I don't want to get into politics on the show. We're a family show, so we try to keep away from obscene pornographic material, and politics is the first and foremost in that. But he's doing all these things. He really is taking the anti-globalist, anti-collectivist view of things, and he's a threat to the elite, to the orthodoxy, to the people that really run the world. And they keep trying to come after him. And they're kind of like, you know what it is? It's kind of like that little dog that doesn't know he's a little dog, who thinks he's a German Shepherd, and it's kind of nipping at your cuffs. And, he's one kick away from, being knocked out.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Silver One Resources is an exploration and development company backed by strategic investors Eric Sprott and SSR Mining. The company is focused on its Candelaria mine project in Nevada, where there is already a historic resource estimated at 127 million ounces of silver. The Candelaria mine historically was the highest grade silver producer in Nevada, generating over 68 million ounces of silver at an amazing average production rate of over 1,250 grams per ton. The project has tremendous expansion potential as past drilling has outlined deeper, high-grade silver targets for future drill programs. Silver One is highly leveraged to the price of silver and is cashed up and poised to increase shareholder value. Silver One trades in New York under the ticker SLVRF and in Toronto under the ticker SVE. To learn more, go to silverone.com. That's silverone.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Yeah, I see that. He's kind of getting it from all directions, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's going in there, he's stirring a lot of things up. And as you said, with the establishment, people talk about the deep state, but he's kind of getting it from all corners, whether in America or even around the globe. For now, he's putting up a good fight, and we'll have to see where that goes. It's made for a bumpy road for the economy and for the markets, and just direction in general.
Oh, well. Hey, I don't think they really understand who they're up against. Real estate, New York real estate is not like a gentleman's game. It's dirty. It's vicious. It's, as close to Washington politics as you get in the free market. And it really is survival of the fittest. And the guy's been studying them for 20 years. So I think they've got their work cut out for them. But I really, really see that that they're trying what I would call the Joe Arpaio strategy. Like, he was the America's sheriff of Maricopa County in Arizona, and they went after him.
Yeah, it was actually, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, so I know Joe Arpaio and all that very well. And the pink inmates, the clothing that they'd have to wear were all pink out in Tent City.
Yeah, that was him. And he gave them a bologna sandwich, like 3 bologna sandwiches a day. So he was spending like 63 cents a day on food for the prisoners and had them in tents out in the desert in pink underwear. So it probably makes it difficult to escape. But the point is, they went after.
I mean, you're a prisoner. They're not supposed to have frills.
Yeah, well, hey, if pink underwear is your idea of frills, then you got it. But, it's funny because they went after him and threw everything at him. And finally, he got defeated. That's what they think they're going to do with Trump. It's the Arpaio takedown method, but it's a little different going after a sheriff of a county in a changing state, as opposed to going after the president, who has so many tools in his arsenal that, they don't even know what he can do to them. Just like the time he left Nancy Pelosi sitting on the, on the bus, waiting to go on that foreign trip to Africa.
Yeah, I do remember.
Like, they really don't understand.
Hey, what do you see about Trump and his, as he put it, directive to have businesses move out of China and move into other developing countries that are maybe more friendly to America and U.S. laws and intellectual property laws and whatnot? Do we see a lot of direction of companies coming out of China into those countries?
I think I'll go back to what my father told me when he was in basic training in the Army in World War II. They used to tell him, look, we can't make you do anything. We can make you wish you had. And I think that's what Trump is effectively saying. What I find fascinating market-wise is that he's basically going to delist all the Chinese securities, or is threatening to, from our exchanges, which, when you get down to it, they never should have been on there in the first place because they're completely fraudulent entities. You know the markets. So in America, there's like accepted means of distorting your profits that won't land you in jail. All right, we have a code, and you can't breach that, or you will get into trouble if you get caught, which is always the if. But in China, it's like you can say, oh, we have $100 billion on deposit at HSBC, and the auditor will take it for granted because they're totally cowed, even the big four firms. But if they do check, they'll call the branch. Oh, yeah, we have $100 billion for this company. But then if you call the headquarters, so who, what company? They're pure fraudsters, these Chinese entities, many of them, if not all, especially with their connections to the government, that they never disclose in any of their financial filings. They should have never been allowed on our exchanges.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. And the problem over there is that you can't really figure out what the truth is. I mean, they are not friendly to information or inspectors or really, as you said, telling the truth about their statements. So we don't really know what's going on over there as far as their numbers, their accounting, and how the business is really doing.
Yep. And it just reminds me of the United States prior to the Great Depression. All of these really great companies, they look great. They were growing by leaps and bounds, really weren't making any money. And I think that is actually what you're seeing in China. These companies are not making any money. They're losing money, if anything. And, it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Well, now if Trump with his, not directive, but, starting to change the direction, change the opinion and incentives of companies and the CEOs and where they want to go, if they start moving out of China and actually kind of have a green light to start moving out of China into other countries, then China might, as you say, kind of wish they had done something different. And this might actually last longer than Trump in his 4 or 8 years. They might actually be starting this process of, if they're moving out of China, companies are kind of a slow ship. They don't do things too quickly. And so if they are going to start going this direction, it's going to take a fair amount of time. And this might actually outlast and outpace Trump's time in office. And I think that would be putting some pressure on China quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. The pressure's on. You see that their economy is actually contracting. Another thing, their statistics, ours are fraudulent, but you can weed out the fraud from the U.S. statistics if you do your work, because you know how it works. But the Chinese, it's a whole nother level of propagandistic, fraudulent statistics. I just don't know what their deal is, but hey,
it's central planning government. That's what it is. They have a narrative, they have a story, and they just say, this is how it is. And it's coming from the center, and they just make up the numbers and they tell what they need, and they say, we're doing great. And that's that. And then they have that kind of iron curtain that you can't get in there to figure out. As you say, with America, you can kind of do some research and figure out what the true numbers are. But over there with a communist or a centrally planned government, there's an iron wall around there, and you can't get under there. You can't figure out what the real numbers are. They put out what's out there as their propaganda, and that's that.
Very true. Yeah, it really is. So at least in the U.S., you're still able, at this point, if you're really thorough, you can deconstruct the fraud. It isn't really, it's kind of systemic, allowable, acceptable practices like, things like revenue recognition. But, that's like, I remember a company a while ago, they had the 31-day month or the 33-day month, and they would basically close out their numbers 3 days after and include all the new month sales into the last month's sales. And eventually they got caught doing it, and people went to jail. It wasn't pretty at all. But, in China, they have the phantom, everything is a phantom. And if you look for it, you really can't find it. None of the income statements make any sense. So you really got to be crazy to invest there. Hey, well, TJ, we got to move on right now. Just tell us the best place to find you and how to connect with you on the web.
Yeah, simplertrading.com. Go there, and I'm one of the traders down there in the biography area, and then that's where you can find us. And then my specific channel is Moxie Trader. And so for Twitter and website, you can find me moxietrader.com, and it's MOXIE.
All right, great. And hey, we'll have a link to the website in the show notes to this interview. email us what you think about this so-called trade war, kl@kerrylutz.com, Twitter feed @KerryLutz, Facebook page, Financial Survival Network, and sign up for a newsletter, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. TG, been a pleasure. Thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.